It's Paul's Picks with Paul Carey, David Schellenberg. Hello, Paul.
Hello, David.
What do we got on the table today, Paul?
We have sparkling wines from Italy
Excellent.
and some snacks.
And some snacks. I think that's the way the Italians like it.
I think so too.
All right, what are we starting with?
So the first sparkling wine is a Prosecco.
Okay.
Actually, they're both
both
Proseccos. They're both
Proseccos.
Proseccos.
Right.
From Italy.
Yeah.
The first one is called the Gran Passione Prosecco.
Okay.
Okay. Both these products are under $20.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So why don't we just dive in and try them?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
And the snacks we got coming up are sort of like normal snacks that anybody should be around with. So which one is it? The darker one or the lighter
darker
one?
one.
The
This
darker
one
one.
here,
Okay, yeah, always start with that first one.
Yeah.
All right, so what do you get when you nose this one?
There's a lot of sort of I find like orange blossom comes through, white flower. It's fruity,
Right.
very very nice.
Yep. Oh, you're right on orange blossom, like very orangey. I don't think I've ever really noticed that in a Prosecco before. I usually think of Proseccos to be sort of
So this
like bread.
this one is just a little off dry.
Right.
Okay, so Proseccos you can get from very sweet
Yep.
all the way to extra dry. So this one's just slightly off dry.
Right,
Okay?
right.
And the reason I picked this one
Yep.
is when we do our little taste challenge here. The jalapeno is a hot, spicy jalapeno, so I'm hoping that this is going to calm that down.
So that's our tease for what's to come. Proseccos with jalapeno chips.
Yeah,
I still find this is a rather unusual Prosecco.
I like it. I think it's kind of more the trend that Proseccos are going towards, where there's more emphasis on the fruit.
Right.
Okay, because for the longest time, Proseccos were kind of more stone fruit, very minerally,
Yeah.
but people were looking for something that was a little bit fruitier.
Yeah.
So they used to use just indigenous varieties to produce Prosecco.
Indigenous grapes.
Yeah, indigenous grapes. But now they're using Pinot Noir, they're using Chardonnay, they're
Yeah.
using all kinds of different things to kind of bump up that fruitiness.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's our first Prosecco, and what's our second
The
Prosecco?
second one is Villa Sandi Prosecco.
Yeah.
Now this one here, you'll find
Yeah.
on the nose it's similar. It's flinty, it's minerally.
Flinty's a good word. Still not that bread sort of thing I expect with the
No,
Prosecco. No.
no, a more lemon, sort of citrus fruit on the nose.
And very lemon to taste as well.
Mm-hmm. Lots of acidity. Definitely drier than the first one that we had,
Right.
and a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
But you'll notice persistent bubble.
Yeah.
Persistent.
Yeah, so those have been
bubble.
sitting in the glass for a little bit while we've been
Yes.
setting things up here, and the bubbles are still coming.
They're still coming, so that's a good thing. So why don't we try some of the snacks? Now, the thinking behind here
Yeah.
is because this time of year, you're log jammed with sports. I mean,
Yes.
everything's playing. You're PVRing this, watching that,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So here are some snacks that you might want to try. And maybe a Prosecco could be a good substitute for a beer one night. Instead of always having a beer, why not have a Prosecco?
Sure, and I think it's even sort of in the same price range, right? Like by the time you bought a six-pack of beer, you could have bought a Prosecco.
Oh yeah, I mean like the Gran Passione 1765 for
Yeah.
the bottle,
Yeah.
and the Villa Sandi's 1895. So again, you're under 20.
Right.
So it's pretty good. So why don't we dive into some foods and see what happens to our wines?
Okay, so what's the first Prosecco, and what do you want to pair it with?
Let's go with the Gran Passione, and we'll try it with the pork rind and see
Pork
what
rind.
happens. Yeah.
I can't think of the last time I had pork rind.
The thinking here is that pork rinds are popular.
Yeah.
They're still readily available.
They're
I mean, like,
everywhere.
I when I went to the grocery store to pick these up, they literally had a gigantic display of it right next to an NFL quarterback cutout. So there's
Okay.
got to be something there for a reason why they're doing that.
Yep.
Now the thinking here is there's a lot of saltiness
Yeah.
and obviously a little greasiness to it as well.
Right.
So I'm hoping the Proseccos, both of them, will cut through that.
So the original Prosecco, you go back to it,
Yeah.
it's still got very much that orange kind of taste to it. And the pork rind is, I'm assuming, just salt.
Try it. It's like bacon.
It is bacon.
It's like eating bacon. Now,
Definitely the fatty part of bacon.
trying that with the sparkling wine, Prosecco, I should be saying. Trying that with the Prosecco, to me, brought out a little bit more sweetness. The first one got, for me, on the palate, got a little bit sweeter and a little bit more effervescent, a little bit more acidic. But it cut right through.
It definitely got effervescent. Like I
Yep.
can feel more and more bubbles, but I'm not sure I can taste the Prosecco anymore. Like the orange is gone. Like
Yeah.
the delicateness of it is overpowered by the.
Yeah, let's try it with Villa Sandi and see what happens.
I took a sip too quick. Wait, need more pork rind. Said nobody ever.
See, now I find here, for me anyway, the pork rind, I found this very dry. Now I find it fruitier. I find that
Yeah.
there's more fruit coming out of the wine, which is awesome.
Remarkably different.
Yeah.
So where I found the pork rind killed the first Prosecco.
The drier one got fruitier.
Yeah.
So-
This one, if anything's kind of orange now. Like it's less lemon, more orange.
So this is the beauty of doing these kind of experiments is, what's going to work, what's not going to work, what changes in the glass, et cetera, et cetera. So why don't we do the same experiment, the same two,
If we must.
if we have to.
Somebody's got to do it. It might as well be us.
This is the Smartfood movie buttery popcorn.
Right, so
Who doesn't
basic-
love that?
Air pop popcorn.
Yeah.
Simple, and popcorn and prosecco. I've heard in the past that popcorn and prosecco is genuinely a thing that people do. And once again, I think it's the saltiness of the popcorn that all sort of comes together.
See, the popcorn, you don't lose the Prosecco like you did with the pork rind.
Right.
Prosecco stays there, and again, stays kind of fruitier. So that orange blossom
yeah.
and pear and all that stuff is just right at the forefront. So that's pretty cool.
Well, you're right on pear, because there was no pear in this prosecco. Geez, say that 5 times fast. There was no pear in this prosecco the first time I had it around, but with the popcorn, all sorts of fruits emerged.
Big time. And I think a lot of that too, not only the saltiness, but the butter.
Yep.
The butter's making a big difference in the wines here.
Yeah. I got to be careful. I might just drown the prosecco with that popcorn. That was really good.
That's a good match. And I've just tried it with the second, so with the Villa Sandi, and there again, it brought out some fruitiness in the sparkling wine.
Watermelon.
Ah, okay, okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like less of the lemon and more of like a watermelon, some sort of a melon.
It's for me, like overripe pear, like
Yeah. okay.
it's going around that. So that's a nice pairing. I like that. I like that one.
Those
Now,
are very different.
of course, we have to punish ourselves here.
The things we do for our art, or whatever exactly this is. So the last chip that you brought is a jalapeno with apparently a touch of pineapple in this
Just
chip.
so
Is that what you get? Jalapeno and pineapple?
jalapeno.
Jalapeno.
Have to be a trailer park boy to like that one. All right. Now let's see what happens. Oh, wow. Go ahead.
Oh, wow.
It ignites, right? It just ignites big time. Like that.
That's a completely different flavor. Like,
From tasting that on its own to what that jalapeno chip did to it, you would swear, someone would say, no, you just switched wines on me. That's not the same thing at all, but
No.
it is. It is. I like it. I like it.
I always hate to use these comparisons, but now the Prosecco is almost like a Sprite, a 7-Up kind of thing.
The winemaker's not here, so you can say whatever you want. You don't say that when the winemaker's here.
No, you wouldn't. But I could see how that's the sort of pairing where all of a sudden you forget there's booze in this glass, and you go through it fairly quickly, and you suddenly realize that there was booze in it when you try to stand up.
Well, that's the thing with Proseccos. They're very, very easy drinking.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about snacks.
Yeah.
Proseccos can go with a wide variety of foods.
Right.
You can pretty much pair them with just about any takeout food that you have during your
Yep.
Super Bowl or whatever.
Yep.
Wings, from mild to extra hot, pizza, Chinese food, you name it. It'll work with it.
Oh, Proseccos are remarkable that way. Okay, and then with our last one?
Our last one, yep. So I just tried the chip. See how much fruit, well, for me, it became super fruitier. And actually the Prosecco, if you pitted the chip against the Prosecco, I find the Prosecco kind of overtook the jalapeno chip. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really weird. Because I would agree. I would think something as spicy, and these aren't crazy spicy
no.
chips. Like we've definitely had more spicier than this.
We have, yes. Yeah.
However, they're still spicy chips.
Oh, yeah.
And the Prosecco, which you'd sort of think is like a little sort of innocent lamb of a bottle,
That stands right up.
Stands
Yeah,
right
stands
up to the
right
chip.
to it. Now, another thing with Preseccos, because again, they're cost friendly, I'm going to say.
Yes, sir.
Cavas, which are Spanish sparklings, and
Yep.
Proseccos are fantastic sparkling style wines that you can use to make your mimosas.
Right.
So if you're going to do something like in the morning, like, celebration, or maybe it's just Sunday or whatever.
Tuesday.
Or Tuesday or Monday. Fantastic for that. Again, my recipe is 3/4 of Prosecco, then just a bit of either orange juice and mango juice.
Yep.
If you want to turn it up a notch, turn it into a Gran mimosa,
Right.
which means you put a 1/2 ounce of Grand Marnier.
Oh.
Voila.
Oh.
And there you go.
Well, that's a new one. All right, some excellent advice there from Paul Carrier. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, David.
I'm David Schellenberg. This has been Paul's Picks.